Well, the polls have just closed, and now the process of counting the votes is underway for Indiana's primary.
Indiana has already seen a major surge in people casting their votes. A lot of that, people casting their ballots early. We've got live team coverage tonight with the races to watch and also some of the key issues that are gaining national attention. We're in the national spotlight tonight.
So let's begin our coverage with Emily Longnecker, who joins us live here in Indianapolis. Emily?
Well, Scott and Ann, one of the races a lot of people are watching is this race for the 7th Congressional District, and that's because a longtime incumbent has a lot of opposition this time around. Now, this seat has been held for 18 years by Democratic Congressman Andre Carson, and Carson has not usually faced a significant challenge in the primary in a long time. In this cycle, he is facing 3 other candidates: George Hornado, a Democratic strategist who also worked for the Obama administration; Denise Paul Hatch, former Center Township constable; and Destiny Wells, an attorney and lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve. You might remember she also ran for Secretary of State and Attorney General. On the Republican side, Patrick McCauley and Philip Rios are running there, but this seat is drawn to favor heavily Democrats, so it's thought whoever wins the Democratic primary tonight will have a strong chance in November of winning this seat. When it comes to the issues, there's not a lot of daylight between these Democratic candidates on these issues, so it really comes down to a question of, are voters happy with the job that Congressman Andre Carson has done for the past 18 years? And Carson's challengers have suggested no, that they're not. They don't think that he's done enough, they say, to build the Democratic Party here in Indiana. They point to usually low voter turnout. Carson's challengers have also said they don't think that he has done enough with his position in Congress to help Indianapolis. Carson has pushed back on all of that criticism, pointing to what he says is more than $1 billion he's brought back to the district during his time in Congress. He points also to his positions on the House Intelligence and Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. And he also, when it comes to criticism on voter turnout, he points to what he says are restrictive voter laws here in Indiana. We know this primary season voter turnout has been particularly high. That could be because of the number of choices on the ballot, especially for the 7th Congressional District. When Carson has faced any kind of primary challenge, though, he usually wins by large margins. He's got 3 challengers this time around who could whittle some of that support away. The question is, will it be enough to win tonight? We'll have to see once the votes are counted. Another race, another congressional race where a longtime incumbent is facing a significant challenge is in the 4th Congressional District, and my colleague Alex Alamanza is covering that. Alex?
Hey there, Emily. District 4 has had a Republican stronghold for several decades, and what voters really are kind of taking a look at is 2 different options when it comes to who goes to Washington, D.C. Now, we've had Jim Baird. He's the incumbent for this district, and he's kind of touting the experience that he brings and kind of that long history of serving this district. And obviously, we have Craig Haggard, who is kind of bringing this new approach, says that the current status quo has kind of got to go. So he's kind of bringing that new approach in District 4. And the question is, what are voters really looking for? Are they looking for someone who brings that long time experience, or do they want to change? And that's really what voters are kind of deciding on today. Now, obviously, there have been several things that have kind of changed the race, especially for Jim Baird. Tragically, he lost his wife in a crash. She died because of her injuries. And so, there have been a lot of emotions on that side of things. So, the question now is, in terms of the of both candidates, when they get endorsements, one of them has a Trump endorsement that would be Baird, and then Craig Haggard has the endorsement from Todd Rokita. And what we've heard a lot is that the endorsement from President Trump really can have a lot of weight to that. And so it's really just up to voters to see what they want coming up for the November election.
If I don't vote, I have no opinion that I can even voice. So I'm voting so I can discuss and complain or enjoy or be glad of who was elected.
So the polls have closed here in Mooresville, and now the tally begins for the absentee ballots as well as the in-persons.
All right, Alex Almanza reporting for us tonight from Mooresville. Thanks so much. Now, in that race to represent Indiana's 5th congressional district, Democrats, a lot of them, are lining up for a chance to flip that district, a long GOP stronghold, to blue.
So District 5 covers portions of 6 different counties, from Fishers to Kokomo, Zionsville to Muncie. Our Jenna Webster shows us tonight what's being called the most competitive Democratic primary in that area. Jenny?
The polls have just closed here in Westfield, been a steady stream of voters all day. So now the counting of all those votes begins. Here in the 5th Congressional District, one of 7 Democrats will come out victorious tonight. The last 2 primary elections only saw 2 Democrats running for the seat. So a political science expert says this speaks to the enthusiasm Democrats have right now, but also their potential efforts to flip this seat. A Democrat hasn't won the 5th since 1990, but right now 2 candidates, State Senator J.D. Ford and Dylan McKenna, have more cash on hand than Republican incumbent Victoria Spartz. Her margin of victory did shrink in the last election, but she still won the 5th by 18 points. We're about to head over to a watch party hosted by the Hamilton County Democrats, where we're going to be closely watching the results of this primary all night and bringing you the results as we have them. Scott, Ann.
All right, Jenna Webster, thanks so much. And there are key state races that we're watching closely tonight that could carry some national implications.
Yes, so our expert on these areas is Dustin Grove. He's going to break down everything for us tonight and right now as the results start to come in, and talks about why they're in the spotlight. So, Dustin, these are the races where the sitting senators voted against congressional redistricting, right? And so they knew that there could be retaliation, and the question is tonight, how effective will that be?
That's exactly right, Ann. President Trump endorsed the challenger in all of those races. So tonight is really a test of how much power he has. How much weight does a President Trump endorsement carry? Let's show you these districts in question. There are 7 of them. They are spread across the state. You can see them around here. They include District 21, which encompasses Westfield, north to Kokomo, where Jim Buck is trying to hold on to his seat against challenger Tracy Powell. If you've watched TV in the last couple of weeks, you've certainly seen the ads for this race. District 23 in Lafayette, where Spencer Deary is running for re-election against Paula Copenhaver. Also District 41, Senator Greg Good, running against challenger Michelle Davis. Scott and Anne Marie, outside interest groups, out-of-state interest groups have poured an estimated $13.5 million into these state Senate races, which is virtually unheard of. A lot of that money on attack ads against the incumbents, although some of it also coming to the defense of the incumbents as well.
So, Dustin, what would be the message to lawmakers in other states if these Trump-backed challengers win tonight?
Well, it's that loyalty to President Trump and the Trump agenda matters, and that crossing President Trump could cost you politically. But conversely, on the other side, if the incumbents win, it means you may be able to disagree with the president, to disagree with the agenda, and hold on to your seat. And experts say it also would tell you that local relationships matter. The question is, how much weight does a presidential endorsement have on local and state politics?
Yeah, so we will find some answers to those questions tonight. Dustin, you're going to help us navigate that as well with our team coverage tonight that will continue at 6:30 right after the news here. It's going to be streaming on our app, WTHR Plus. We're going to have live reaction. We also have a panel of experts and analysis to kind of dissect the results as they come in. Again, that's at 6:30 on WTHR Plus.